When you run a booktube channel, you're never ever going to run out of things to read due to the recommendations that you get. And sometimes we just don't have time for them. But these are the ones you guys still just insist upon. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back today to talk some most recommended. Now, this is something I've kind of done on the channel before, but it's an ever-evolving list because as time goes by, I get new recommendations. There's new hotness on the booktube and lots of things that people are recommending, be it series, be it authors, be it just a single book, whatever. We're going to kind of touch upon some of those today. Now, what these are is, this isn't like a series that I'm considering for next year or anything. I'm just saying these are the ones I feel like in the comments of my videos, these are the ones that get recommended to me the most. And some might surprise you, some probably not so much. But as with all things on this channel, guys, I never say never. You never know if I'm going to give one of these a try or when or if, but I'll get into each and every one of them. So sometimes it's FOMO, sometimes it's just, giving into others' demands. I'll probably give some of these a try because in the last year, I found like a bunch of new favorite authors, just going off of some of you guys' recommendations, some new horror authors I've really fell in love with, and just other things I thought I'd never really tried before, just going off of you guys' recommendations. So it's something I'm always monitoring and something I'm always adding to that ever-growing TBR that's just longer than Santa's list, right? It really is. So hopefully we'll have more nice than naughty. Let's go ahead and kick it off, guys, with the biggest elephant in the room. I'm not even going to delay because without a doubt, no matter what video I make, the question I get, I can make a video talking about, hey, this is why I love ℓ𝕦𝕣𝕠𝕜𝕤, and the first comment will be, have you read Dungeon Crawler Carl? That was it. I can't even exist anymore without hearing about Dungeon Crawler Carl. That's why I've got it sitting here right here by me. It's one of those series, it seems like it's the new It series on BookTube. Be it, I remember when I first started, it was Rage of Dragons, and then it became the Greenbone Saga, and then it was Murderbot. It just seems like there's always some coalescing around one series that everyone on BookTube is reading and loving. And this one just, everyone. I just posted a picture on Twitter the other day and got like 800 likes and about 200 comments about how I've got to do the audiobook, regardless if I can do audio or not. That's a whole different can of worms. But it's a series that I just don't know if I can hold you guys off much longer, because like I said, no matter what video I make, I see one comment in there at least about, have you tried Dungeon Crawler Carl yet? I think you would love it. And then there'll be the other half where people are like, there's no way you're going to like that series. So I don't know which way I'm going to fall on it, because I've never done lit RPG. I think the closest I came was Cradle, and I don't think that's exactly lit RPG. I don't know. These little subgenres confuse me, guys. I don't really know, but Cradle wasn't for me. And people assure me that this is a bit different. If you just go into it, not taking it too seriously. You know what? I could use some fun and games once in a while, because when you start reading a lot more horror and a lot of epic fantasy, sometimes, you could use something that's just a little bit fun. And that's what I've heard about Matt Denneman's series. So I'm pretty sure that one will be happening sooner rather than later. Stay tuned, you guys. Next up, a book that I don't feel like I would have any interest in at all, just reading the synopsis on the back flap, but I get so many recommendations for it, is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Am I saying her name right? This one is just, it doesn't sound like something I'd be into. But, people are like, hey, it's just, coming of age in Appalachia. It's like, it kind of sounds similar to the J.D. Vance book. I forget what that one was called. Anyway, that's what it kind of sounds similar to when someone described it to me, but I'm not really sure how I would land on this one. But like, without a doubt, people are like, oh yeah, definitely, you would definitely like that. So who knows, guys? Again, just going off the back cover, which I think is about like the opioid crisis or something. I don't know. Again, it just doesn't sound like something that I would be like, oh yeah, that's definitely a winner for me. But like everyone, people that I really trust, like I have zero doubt that you will not love it. And that was going to be our ℎ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 book, but we have like a strict rule of 500 pages or less. This one's about 600. So again, it's like, wow, a really long book you guys are recommending to me. So again, that's I listen to you guys. I can't put this off any longer. That's definitely one that I feel like I got to give a try, as do Stephen Graham Jones. And this isn't a particular book at all. This is just Stephen Graham Jones in particular. I really love horror, and I'm finding a lot of new horror authors, and people are like, why have you not done SGJ yet? I'm doing it right now. I started Buffalo Hunter x Hunter yesterday. And it's a very interesting premise. I've heard a lot of mixed things about his writing style. People are they love it or they hate it. So far, I don't see anything too jarring. I don't know, maybe he will get real weird about it halfway through or something, but so far it seems pretty straightforward. I'm not having a hard time. I went into it expecting like Cormac McCarthy or something, and I'm not getting that vibe like at all, or if he wrote like second person prescience or something. I don't know. It just seems like a normal book to me, but we'll see. I have planned to do the Buffalo Hunter x Hunter and I Was a Teenage Slasher before I make my final judgment on Stephen Graham Jones. But just he seems to be like the it author in horror right now. Him and Grady Hendrix. And Grady Hendrix, I've had more mixed to positive than I have positive. And so I think maybe Stephen Graham Jones will be a little bit more I'm looking for. Lots of Stephen King fans recommend him to me. And, I found you guys recommended Ronald Malfi to me. And you guys are right about that. I love Ronald Malfi so far. So maybe Stephen Graham Jones will be the next big thing for me in horror. Behind Mr. Malfi, since, Stephen doesn't seem to want to write horror anymore. He just wants to write about Holly. But that's a whole different can of worms. Now, I'm not holding each one of these up because these are the couple that I use for the thumbnail. But Grace of Kings is one that I get a lot. I don't. This sounds very, very dense. I mean, just going off of, for me, I'm going to be honest with you guys, the naming. To Western eyes, a lot of these names are just like, oh my God, all these names. It had the same thing with Shogun, which was one of my favorite books I've ever read, Shogun. And it took a long time for me getting used to the names because there's a lot of similarities and stuff. Again, I don't feel like that's a bad thing to say that to Western eyes, those names kind of look similar. And it's hard to kind of differentiate them. And I'm just looking at some of the names for this. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to? And it's got like 10 times the amount of characters as Shogun. So I'm a little worried about that fact. But also because of this series, it seems like people really, really love it, or they're like, yeah, book one's great, and then it gets kind of iffy. And I see like a little bit more divisive things among a lot of fantasy readers where, the series has got more popular over the last couple of years. But again, I can't talk about any epic fantasy series without that one coming up. So I'm actually going to be reading that one in June. They're doing a read-along on my Discord. That's not mine. I'm not leading it or anything like that, but they are doing one in June. I think they're doing a book every other month, just so nobody kind of gets left behind because these books do get bigger and bigger. But I'll try with this one in June, and if I like it, I will continue with the series. But I don't know where I'm going to fall on that one, but that is on the schedule. That one is happening. So you guys win that one. Next up, I do have a manga on here, believe it or not. It's not One Piece. 20th Century Boys by Naoki Urasawa is one who always gets recommended to me based off my love of Stephen King. Apparently, Urasawa is a huge Stephen King fan. Like, he even does like Stephen King fan art. The guy loves Stephen King, and apparently a lot of his writing is a lot like Stephen King. I know a lot of people always talk about Monster, which I went to Monster. I was like, I wasn't getting a ton of Stephen King off of that. But then everybody tells me, well, 20th Century Boys, I think, is one you'll like more because it uses that it formula. The coming of age. This happened to us when we're kids, and as adults, we got to come back together to fight this thing. That's a formula I never get sick of. Ronald Malfi, again, is using that, and I'm liking it a lot. Several books I've read recently. Mystic River kind of sort of used that formula. So that's something that I'm always going to be interested in. And with this, it's like I'm still working my way through One Piece, so I don't know when I would start this. With comics and manga, it's like real streaky. I won't read any for like a year, and then I'll read like 20 volumes in a row. That's just kind of always the way I've been. So I don't know necessarily when I would get to this. But it's like I've got One Piece and Vinland Saga ongoing. But if I start another new one, it will be 20th Century Boys because a viewer was so kind to send me the entire series. So I definitely want to read it. And again, the Stephen King comparisons, obviously, you guys know how to get my attention. But that one does come up a lot, as does Rift War Saga by Raymond Feist. Now, with this, it's one of those that it's been on my radar for decades, and I don't know why I've never really gotten to it. It's kind of up there with Eddings. It's just that one where some people have said if you missed it when it was new, it might not hit for you now. But I love going back to the classics and seeing how that hits with me. Like people were like, I don't know if Drizzt will work for you now at this point in life, and I love the Drizzt books. I think they're incredible. So hopefully this will kind of hit that same kind of nerve there. I don't know. This is another one that I kind of hear mixed. I'll be honest. Patrick kind of swayed me when Patrick started reading this, and he was like, it's just not for me. I got a little concerned, but I still get so many recommendations for it that I say I'll definitely probably give it a try here with that brand new Broken Binding edition that's coming out for subscribers. If you saw that, absolutely stunning. And nothing makes me want to read a book faster than some really beautiful cover art that seems to have it. Probably one of the most famous authors that I feel like I've neglected, never really given a try, is Ursula K. Le Guin. And that's why I want to say, Tales of Earthsea, I get this recommendation a ton, and I need to finally go ahead and do it. I think every time, I don't think I could talk to Philip for longer than about 30 minutes without Ursula K. Le Guin coming up. And Tales of Earthsea, again, coming of age wizard story, magic school. Okay, yeah, these are all things I love. Got some dragons in there. Wow, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't have a real reason. I got a really beautiful, complete series, hardcover of it. I'd have no idea why I haven't started it. It's just not enough days on the calendar, right? And I feel like I gotta force it eventually and just say, this is happening this year. And that does happen. I mean, there's lots of things, guys. I get so many new recommendations. It's hard and something has to get pushed down, you know? And I try to stay modern with this stuff and try to make sure I'm reading some of the classics. That's when I need to make sure that I kind of make a priority, probably next year at the earliest. But I do want to make that one happen. The next one, guys, this is probably without a doubt the science fiction story that I get recommended the most, and I don't know if I will ever get to it because it just is so intimidating, and that's Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. Again, I feel like I've become personal friends with Christopher Rocchia, and I think that anytime we talk, we'll just be talking about anything, and all of a sudden, somehow it will come back to Gene Wolfe. So I feel like Christopher is going to eventually, hold me at knife point and make me read some Gene Wolfe. So I won't say it'll never happen. With me, it's just like I said, I don't want to start another series that dense until I finish Malazan, and then it just gets everybody barking at me because I haven't finished Malazan. And I don't know. With Malazan, that's a whole different discussion. Well, I'm just gonna skip over that. Just to know that I'm not quitting Malazan, but I don't know when I'm continuing it. But with Gene Wolfe, he's obviously very, very high expectations for something like that. And it's one of those that maybe I'm hoping that I've just set this expectation so high that it's going to be very, very difficult to read, that when I get to it, it won't be. I don't know. A lot of people have been like, yeah, even Gene Wolfe didn't understand what he was saying. That chases me off when I hear that. But what makes me excited is just how many of you guys recommend him to me and how amazing he really is. And again, Christopher, I trust Christopher, all things that comes to the written word, and he's very, very high on Gene Wolfe. I brought up Petrick earlier, and another one that he kind of changed. Yes, Petrick, you're the bad guy. You're the villain of this video. Petrick's awesome, guys. Don't get me wrong. His reaction to the final book in this series made me kick it way down on my list, and I own the whole set. And it's Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. The first book, everyone was just like so over the moon about. Got a little more mixed with 2 and 3. And then 4 was like the very definition of divisive. Some people said it ruined the whole series. Some people said, no, it's fine. It wasn't quite how I wanted it to end, but it was fine. And it kind of scared me off a little bit. And that's why I kind of pushed it down the list a little further. But I'm looking at it right now. It's still on my shelves. It's not been, delegated to the closet or anything like that. So it's still, I would guess you would call it a semi-priority series. So I still want to do it. But when someone you trust or someone you align with, like Petrick, when they rail on something, it makes you like, I don't know. But Petrick loved Cradle, and I didn't. So Petrick loves Name of the Wind, and I don't. So I would say we're lockstep. But I think it's when someone tells you that the last book in a series kind of drops the ball, it really demotivates you. So I still haven't read his Dark Materials, is because of that. So and every time I say that, people jump all over it. Like that's my wife. My wife was so mad at his Dark Materials, she quit reading with like 30 pages left in the series. But again, with Books of Babel, I still would like to give it a go. So I'm glad you guys keep recommending that one. I get so many recommendations for Powder Mage by Brian McClellan. This one, really, I don't know. I think that the comparison, the Brandon Sanderson light comparison I hear all the time is really kind of what's kind of chased me off on this one. Because I've had several series where people have said, oh yeah, it's Brandon Sanderson light, and you get it and it does, yeah, it feels like Walmart Brandon Sanderson. That's not anything that I want. I don't know if that's going to be the case with Powder Mage, but that's something that's kind of always made me kind of be like, I can kick it till next year for sure. But the more and more I read some of these series, the more some of these have been kind of sitting around for 4 or 5 rotations of, series I'm going to try next year. Or I say maybe that one's going to happen eventually, but I still get a ton of recommendations for it. So it'll definitely still stay on my list. Mercy Thompson by Patricia Briggs. This is one that I brought up in that romance video that I want to give a try, and saying that, is it actually a romance series or is it just a fantasy series that has romance in it? Because the comparison I get is it's like Dresden Files in that there is a romance in it, but it's not really what you would call romantasy. But since it has a female lead, it must be romantasy. I think that that's just so lazy, and it's just really, really mean. Guys, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Favorite TV show ever. I've been looking for the Buffy replacement in my life for years. Dresden Files came the closest. And so I'm thinking hopefully Mercy Thompson sounds something like it might be a little bit more embracing the Buffyverse style of storytelling. And if it isn't, hey, I've also been told Kate Daniels is one I might like. So I'm going to keep trying, damn it, until I find something that kind of scratches that Buffy itch I've had for years now. The Black Company by Glenn Cook. I can't talk about any grimdark book at all without Black Company coming up. For this one that kind of pushed it down a little bit on my list was when I was saying the things I wasn't liking about Malazan, the military fantasy, the sitting around campfires, doing nothing, waiting for battles to happen. And a lot of people were like, well, you might want to just go ahead and skip Black Company then, because that's probably what more than half of that series is. Not a very good sales pitch, but again, it's never been to the point where I've said, nah, no chance, I'm not going to do it. But it did push it down a lot, and there's lots of Black Company love still out there. And I feel like a lot of people have said, you kind of get an idea in that first book if it's going to be a series for you or not. Not necessarily that is indicative of what the whole series is like, but you'll get an idea if you are in for that kind of story. So I don't know. Let me know if you think that's different or if that's a really good explanation for it or not. Manifest Illusions, Michael R. Fletcher. I think that this one has, Beyond Redemption's been on my list since like 2019. I give credit to Mark Lawrence for this, because Mark Lawrence created like this grading scale of how grimdark something is. And Beyond Redemption, like ranked number 1 of like the most grimdark books out there. Now with me, most people with grimdark, they just think that means that your characters are pieces of shit and they're just completely unredeemable. And I don't think so. I think that there's a formula to it, which I think that Mark Lawrence, for the most part, Jorg aside, I feel like Mark Lawrence kind of understands at least what that formula is. So that's a really weird reason to say this book's on here, but obviously it's a lot of recommendations. A lot. Anytime I talk about grimdark, like I said, I get a lot of Michael R. Fletcher recommendations in there. And he seems like a really good guy. So I think I would like to give this book a try. A couple more here. Going to kind of lean a little bit more into the sci-fi with this one. And the thing is I think this one gets misconstrued. A lot of people think it's fantasy because it has dragons in it, but it apparently is a science fiction book. This is Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. Now, they're one of the legends of the genre, right? I have zero explanation for why I've never tried this. I think I talk all the time about my origins of sci-fi fantasy. It was my older brother's bedroom when I was a kid, because we didn't have a library close by. We weren't buying a lot of books when I was a kid, so that was my library. It was my brother's science fiction books, and I always saw Dragon Riders of Pern in there, and I never picked it up. So again, this is one of those I feel like I need to probably give a try, just off of the legacy, kind of like the Le Guin one. So I think I need to make it a priority read. Definitely. And I definitely need to be getting more science fiction, because I feel like I'm starting to fall down that trap again. I've increased my amount of horror through the year, but the amount of science fiction is still dwindling a little bit. So I think maybe I just got to find the right thing for me. And what can make me like science fiction more than I do? Hey, dragons. That sounds like something. So how this can be science fiction, I'm sure I think that the dragons are like alien life forms, and that's kind of how they do it as sci-fi, or the robots or something. I don't know. I got that explanation to me, and it really surprised me. But yeah, that one's definitely on the short list, as is Tad Williams. Guys, I love Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. And I put out the review, because we did a read-along for that. So I did reviews for all 3 books in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. And I get so many comments today still. Well, have you continued with Last King of Ocean Art? How much you loved Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I think Last King of Ocean Art might be even better, which is like, okay, that is a wild boast, because Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is one of the best trilogies ever written. It is. It's fantastic. It's superb, and I'm glad so many more people are discovering it. You're telling me Last King of Ocean Art is even better? That's wow. Okay. That was very, very hard for me to leave off of my 2025 plans. The only reason I did it is because I was trying to get shorter books. And Tad, God bless him, love him to death. He is ridiculously talented. Can't say anything kind of quickly. His books do seem to be very, very long. But I don't want to say that's the reason I'm not going to read them. It's just I had some burnout last year on big books, and I didn't want to do that again. So this is definitely on my 2026 plans right now. At least I feel like that today. Who knows what can happen? I said I wanted to try Otherland before I went back to Ocean Art, but no, I hear too many things about this, and now it's complete. I feel like I should probably give that one a go, and I'm super excited to visit that world again, see what some of those characters that might still be around. I'm not sure about how much time has went by, and things like that. I think there's actually the Heart of What Was Lost, something like that. It's like a bridge novel before you start Last King of Ocean Art. So maybe I can fit that one in this year. I don't know. We'll see. But I would be very excited to visit that world again, because like I said, some things you read and you really enjoy them, and then you feel like over time the arrow is pointing up even more. That's me with Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I really enjoyed it when I read it. But now that a couple years went by, it's like I only have like more fondness for it. So it definitely has me excited to revisit Ocean Art and see what is happening around the kingdom. So guys, that's what I got here. It's 15 of them. Like that's more than enough, obviously, but we get so many recommendations when you're a booktuber. You know, again, like I said, It's FOMO from other booktubers talking about how great everything is. I talk about that's coalesced around one or two books. It makes you be like, okay, I'm going to screw this TBR up and just read what I want to read. And it's very, very tempting sometimes. But with this, some of these series, I don't want to start a bunch of these new series because I already have a lot of series planned for this year. Maybe some of these standalone books or something like that, I might give a try a little earlier. I don't know. But thank you so much, guys, for the recommendations. Thanks to you, I'll never run out of ideas for things to read. And that can be a real worry. Yes, I joke all the time. I'll never be able to read everything behind me. But, eventually one day I think I could if I stopped getting recommendations now, so please don't be afraid. You guys' encouragement to read something like this is what has me moving it up my list. It's because of how much you guys are carrying on about it and you guys want to hear me talk about it. That's what I'm here for. I want to give the people what they want. So again, please drop in the comments. Let me know series that you guys think that I would want to read. Do you have anything to say about any of these? Do you think these are going to be a winner for me? Do you think I won't like them? That's always a fun conversation to have. So drop in the comments, guys, and let me know, and maybe let me know some of the series that get recommended to you a lot that you think you want to give a try soon. Or maybe it's series I recommended to you that you want to give a try. I'd love to hear that as well. So hit me in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.